motion to adopt?
Move. Second.
All in favor? Motion's carried. No delegations this evening. We have minutes for approval. First of all, the May 7th council meeting.
Move. Second.
On approval, those in favor, motion's carried. And for receipt, we have the whole meeting minutes of May 14th.
Move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of receipt, motion's carried. We have several recommendations. The first is the interfund repayment terms. Recommendations that all funds borrowed by the General Capital Fund and utility capital reserves be repaid with 8 equal annual blended payments of principal and interest at 3.63% per annum due on June 30th each year.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Planning report PR 14-1 for the new Comox Planning Procedures Bylaw and Comox Building Bylaw Amendment. And that the bylaws 1780 and 1782 associated with that before the council for the first, second, and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, we were considering them later on.
Yes.
So this is just to...
That's just from committee.
Yeah.
In favor? Motion's carried. Boundary extension request for the Hector Road area, and the recommendation continues is that the town Comox proceed with the Hector Road and McDonald Road area boundary extension proposal with the inclusion of the property at 2309 McDonald Road, and further that the town staff be authorized to develop sign and submit a proposal to the provincial government.
Move that recommendation.
Second.
Moved and second. Councillor Fletcher.
Can I just ask, I asked last week and I don't know if I understood the answer. So the property 2309, they had been ambiguous, I believe, about coming in and out, according to...
Ambivalent.
Ambivalent, ambiguous.
Maybe extras.
With what Blair Pettis said, and then I asked staff, now are staff speaking to the owner of the property, or are we just doing the application regardless of them, and they'll find out? I thought you were speaking.
I'll ask the CEO to comment.
If council approves this recommendation, that is when we would be speaking with the owner of that property as well as owners in the surrounding area.
And if the property owner is still not interested in being a part of the application, would that come back to us?
We'd advise you of that.
Okay.
I think at this stage, though, from a planning perspective, we would still be recommending that it be included as a block with the rest.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Unopposed? Motion's carried. And the final recommendation coming out of committee of the whole is bylaw 1776, Comox Parks and Public Places Bylaw 2014 before the council for the first, second, and third reading.
Move. Second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. No committee reports. Aren't any questions, comments? Councilor Price.
Has
The board meets, I think, this Friday. So, assuming they get a quorum, then they'll make a decision to take it hopefully to stage 2, which brings it back to staff to continue to work on. And yeah, so we're hopeful. And it seemed to be well received again at the regional advisory committee with the additional input from staff. All right, any further? Seeing none, we'll move on. This is new business. This is unfinished business, but it's bringing back to council, which is the 1988 Wilford Avenue. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application. RZ 14-2, the related development permit application for the riparian areas and development variance permit for the parcel frontage variance. Staff's report starts at page 21, and the recommendations are for first and second reading and public hearing. Move. Second.
First and second reading, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Price.
just, I mean, it's unfortunate that the majority of the comments, although people are happy that we are doing this, are all, the majority of them are that they don't want to see the lot B, and that they just want to have it as one lot with a larger park. So, and it's unfortunate because this is our sort of flagship, our first, and it's always great if it can be received with the same joy that we received it. And I still think it's it's a very good project. And so the fact that it is going to public hearing, I'm happy to support it moving ahead as it is. And then if at public hearing we hear from nearly everyone there that they wish to see a path, we could then amend it at that point, could we not? Is that without having to go back to public hearing?
You still may have to go back to public hearing because it would be a fairly significant change if you choose to, say, rezone the property that is currently residential to park. I think that's a fairly significant change.
Councillor Gabbard?
Yeah, I heard from some people in the neighborhood, and there was, I think there was a little little meeting of the neighbors that were held, and one of their big fears was that there was going to be one of the monster houses go up on this small lot. And so I took it upon myself to go to our planner and work out what the footprint of the house would be and the total. And you're going to get about a 1,700 or 1,800 square foot house on that lot. So there's no danger of, because when you look at your setbacks and everything else, it's going to be a fairly modest house. So I'm not, although initially the fears of the neighborhood were such, after I went back to the guy and told him, he seemed quite happy with that answer. So.
All right, thank you for that. So for first and second reading, any further questions, comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And a public hearing be scheduled and located at CRC.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do you have a target date in mind, Mr. Planner? Or Ms. Planner?
Hopefully June 19th,
June?
next regular council meeting.
Okay, June 18th. Thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to try to do that as part of the council meeting agenda? Is that what we're doing? Or we're doing it separate?
After,
Okay, fair enough. So like a 7 o'clock thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so that's carried, so that'll bring it to the 18th of June. Special reports. We have at page 69, the Regional District Hospital and Solid Waste Management Board meeting minutes of May 8th for receipt.
Move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? All right, bylaws, starting at page 77, we have the Park Dedication Bylaw 1770 for World Wilson School Site for adoption.
Second.
On adoption and discussion, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have bylaw 1783, High Bay Water and Sewer Service Debt Repayment Parcel Tax Bylaw Amendment number 1, and for adoption.
Move adoption.
Second. All those in favor? Motion's carried. We have bylaw 1776, Comox Parks and Public Places Bylaw for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Planning Procedures Bylaw 1780 for first, second, and third reading.
Move. Second.
Councilor Price?
Yes, and I'd like to make an amendment, and the amendment would be that we would delete section 16(1) bracket 2, which is page 99. Basically, this would mean that we would not be dissolving the APC, the Advisory Planning Commission.
Sorry, where are you at?
Page 99
16C.
and 16, yeah.
16(1)C, that, so you're saying that you would take out the repeal of the back.
That's right, we take that out.
Okay, is there a seconder for that amendment? Discussion on the amendment. Councilor Gabbard.
Well, when we charged the planning department with coming up with some ways to streamline the approval process, and they came back with a fairly comprehensive report, and they addressed this issue of the Advisory Planning Commission, and it has been one of the bottlenecks or the you know, in trying to get a quorum, et cetera. So I'm not in favor of the amendment. I think that we should follow the planner's recommendations. We asked them to streamline the process, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. So,
Councillor Price?
Yes, and I think the planner did a great report and a great bylaw, and there's some wonderful consultation processes, particularly the pre-submitting the application. I think that's great to have that written in, and the suggestion of the 1 in 3 major applications being an open house public forum. However, advisory planning commissions provide just this one more area where the public and we have a committed group of people on the advisory planning commission where they can come together, study it, and put their recommendations forward. They aren't consulted on many applications. I think it's just the rezoning. They are not on variances, and so I would like to see that they continue, and I think that the procedural bylaw will be, it's a great bylaw, but I think it will be improved by keeping our advisory planning commission.
That, Councillor Kendrat and Swift.
Yeah, I think a big part of the rationale for all the extra public input that we have in the neighborhood walks and the talks was that we were going to speed this up and get more public input from it. The bottleneck for these, and oftentimes it can take 1, 2, 3, 4 months to get them together, and that's the part that's the real bottleneck with this when you do this. The whole point of adding all that extra public process was to eliminate this piece. I think if you leave it in there, you're going to find that our process doesn't get shorter, but it gets longer. So I don't see that that's a good move.
Councillor Swift.
Well, I've been sitting on the Advisory Planning Commission, and I believe that the people that are involved in it come with all good intentions. But I think a better process is having these open houses where you can have a broader public input. Because I know the last Advisory Planning Commission meeting I went to, we were there for 2 hours, and then everything was overturned when it came to council anyway. So I think it's better to have a broader input earlier on, and it's more accountable, I think.
Thank you for that. Councillor Kennedy.
Just clarify this for me, because I don't know the history that some of you do. Has the delays largely been caused just because they haven't got quorums? Or and has that happened often, where they've met and not had a quorum, and it's delayed a decision until you get a report back from that group?
That is one situation that does happen, where one of the applications we were trying to keep moving through, and because of the most recent example, I think, was just before Christmas, where we were unable to get the quorum of the ABC together, and so that essentially delays about a month.
Can we not put something in place that establishes that if they don't, they have to have a quorum, and if they don't, then the opportunity is not there?
It's a volunteer board. I'm not sure how we could demand that they attend.
The reason I would suggest that is that I'm sure none of us here want to leave the perception that we don't that we're shutting down public input, and I don't think that's the intention of anybody at the table here. But if the problem has just been that they haven't got a quorum, and we need, perhaps we can put on a rider that there has to be a quorum, or else the opportunity is lost, and or have an alternate that can be called if there's not a quorum. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, when we discussed this at a staff level, the intent of creating the public meetings earlier, not only from the option of council requesting one or asking that it be held, as well as the onus that we're placing on the developer pre-application to get feedback, is to try and address the issue that I've seen of the frustration that we sometimes see at the public hearing, that the comments that are provided are basically falling supposedly on deaf ears, that council doesn't listen because everything's already been done. So we're trying to bring those comments to the beginning of the process, and to first acknowledge, A, that the people are being heard, and that more people have an opportunity for that input. And hopefully we would be able to address many of those concerns. Some may never be able to get addressed, but at least we can provide an opportunity early on, as well as the traditional and required public hearing process later on. So the Advisory Planning Commission is a volunteer group that is somewhat representative of the community, but very limited as well. So the intent was not to consider them not valuable, but when we're struggling with the issue of speeding up processing time, as well as ensuring we have a broad public range of input, that's one of the places that we saw an opportunity to save time, but create almost a win-win situation.
Councilor Fletcher?
Thank you. I think we've done some great work here in the streamlining concept that we were asking staff to engage. I think we have to balance it as well with public input. As I mentioned last week, my memory of serving on the Advisory Planning Commission was we had a student that was well engaged, and I thought it was a good way to engage youth in a very thoughtful way. We also had an RCMP member that was a member of the commission and provided great input from their perspective as well. I know at the regional district, I believe they have regularly scheduled Advisory Planning Commission meetings, so if they need to meet, it's scheduled for a year in advance. If they have nothing on the agenda, they don't meet, I guess. That may be a way to advise members that here are the dates for the course of the year, and they would therefore commit. I don't want to see it bogging things down either, but I think it serves a good purpose.
Councilor Sir?
Well, in the 2.5 years I've served, I had a student show up to 2 meetings, and the RCMP officer only has come to 1. And one member I didn't see for the first year because they were always on holidays. So I don't think it's serving, it's not as effective a tool as it could be. And I think replacing it with these public input earlier on is a much broader and more effective way of getting public input.
Councilor Price?
Yes, and I don't see it as an either or. I think it's great what's in the procedure bylaw and the input at the beginning and the opportunity for open houses. I think that's great. But I just hate to see the loss of the role of the Advisory Planning Commission. It can, it's part of that picture. And rather than get rid of it, put some energy into revamping it. And talk to Highland and see if there's interest again in sending a student member. I do believe that every avenue that we can follow is going to give good input. And providing we have input from the APC prior to the public hearing, that would be the only deadline, would it not, in terms of, because it is basically comment. It's from a comment from an informed group of committed citizens, but providing we get that comment before the public hearing, then it's available for us to help in our decision making.
Setting the deadline of the public hearing, I think, is too late. The way that the planning department works with the applicant to process the development proposal, a lot of it is work is behind the scenes, and we're bringing information to council at a timely manner. Taking an application that is almost, from a staff perspective, a done deal prior to the public hearing, I think would frustrate the APC even more, because their comments may come too late in the game. And if you're looking for that input, it should be early rather than later.
That's the preferred, yes.
Yeah, so the other concern is that it's yet another meeting that we, from a staff perspective, have to generate an agenda, have to keep track, make sure we can get people to attend. So again, it's time consuming on the limited amount of planning staff that we have. And we've got to balance that out with the deadlines that we've set from a staff perspective of processing times that we're going to be holding firm on to the applicant themselves. So it will be a challenge to keep both the public information meeting process, the APC, and meeting all the other deadlines.
I think there was a time and place for the ABC. With all due respect to all the people who have served on it over many, many years, I think that time has passed. I think there's a lot of role clarity issues here that need to be addressed. And I think that we have a role as council to deliberate on the form and character and the appropriate use and density of properties up for development. And we're accountable to the electorate ultimately. The accountability the APC has is very little other than the council. They could be have their appointments canceled or terminated. I think the staff also have a large role to play in implementing our OCP and our very comprehensive DPAs, our guidelines. And we have a fairly fresh OCP, fairly comprehensive set of those guidelines. And I don't really see what role APC could play that would be effective. And the challenge I think we have as a council is to balance the need to have public input in a broad and comprehensive sense, which I think this set of bylaw amendments will do at an early stage and right through to and including public hearing, against the desire to have a streamlined process. And anytime there's uncertainties as to role and perhaps as to timing, I think you create uncertainties as to the desire to invest in a community, and I think that's ultimately what we have to tip the balance, at least for me. Not to say that everything gets approved, but certainly I think we need to know what the rules are, how the guidelines are being interpreted, and not having perhaps a misunderstanding as to what roles agencies like this play. And I think if you look at the trend towards governance at the local level, it's away from a myriad of committees into keeping the committees at arm's length, the commissions and the volunteers that are out in the community doing their things, and having council deliberate on the decisions that they need to make and not confusing the two. So that's my take on it. Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor of the amendments?
Oh, the amendments.
Amendment. Try that again. All those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? Amendment's defeated. On the main motion, or I should say the motion as which was first, second, and third reading for the planning procedures bylaw. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And the accompanying building bylaw amendment 1782 for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, under new business, we of course had a report on this last week, a very comprehensive one by our planner. And the planning staff put a lot of work into this. This is the Downtown Comox Vitalization Program. And we have a series of bylaws here to give consideration. Firstly, that Comox Downtown Revitalization Tax Exemption Bylaw 1784 is given first reading.
I would move that, but I would like to include a larger boundary.
Well, that'll have to be an amendment that you have to make after the main motion is seconded.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
All right, so moved and seconded, and you wish to make an amendment.
I'd like to make an amendment that we include the area on Comox Avenue down to Stewart Street. That we also include beside the golf course up on Balmoral down to Stewart Street. And that we also include on Comox Avenue past Ellis Avenue. And I don't have an address unfortunately, but it's this kitty corner one here. So it's the Hazlitt House, the red one. So these ones are all built on already. So it's the one unbuilt one here. And I'd also like to include these two on the end of Comox Avenue and out on the corner here.
What page are you looking at?
This is not a page, I just brought it. Oh, is there a map? I brought
Yeah,
it.
there is a map on there.
Is there a map? Okay. Sorry, I left my own map. So it's
Page
the ones,
113.
yeah, it's the ones we've discussed in the past, so. It's the one on Balmoral is the one right beside the golf course. The other ones along the Stewart have all been built on already. It's on Comox Avenue, the one's right down to Stewart Street, so there's the string of little houses and there's the development property on the end. Then if we go down Comox Avenue the other way towards Ellis, we have the house, the doctor's house, then there's an apartment, then there's the Hazlitt House, as I call it, which is the red house, and then there's another apartment on the other end. So it would be
How many parcels is
that piece right there. So it's 1, 2, 3,
that? 4.
4.
You're talking about extending it all the way down.
Yeah, well, they're already built on, so you know, we're really only looking at the one, but the other ones are all built on
On
already.
the south side, you're talking about the corners.
Yeah, and then the corner piece there, the two
So
houses.
Alice and
Yes.
Comox. All right, is everyone clear on the amendments? If not, you can look at the maps.
Yeah, these are all built on already.
And
Was that
second?
seconded?
That's been seconded. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can I just clarification?
Yes, please.
What, Balmoral, are we talking about, I believe it's the north side?
Yes.
Yes, across
All
the
the way
street
to
from the mall.
Stewart Street? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
to Stewart Street, yes. And the rationale for this is, you know, I've spoken with the Economic Development Society and their consultants, and they all agree that this is a good idea. We took this to our BIA meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they actually couldn't, they were actually wondering why we weren't including these in it. And I also talked to our developers group that we deal with at the Economic Development Society, and they thought that this was a good idea. The assumption that I make on this is that what we need in our downtown core, more than anything, is some density to get the vibrancy in our downtown. In the short term, that's what we need. In the long term, there may be a need for commercial, but currently, and short term being about a 10-year span, what we need is more density. And these are all sites that are in the works of being developed, or would like to be, and they'd like to be included in this plan so that they can get on with their work and get onto it. It would be the beginning of a successful start to our program. So I think that if we have the opportunity to put, you know, 80 new properties or 80 new units into our downtown, which equates to about 160 new people walking and shopping in our downtown, then I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. So that's why I'd like to include those.
Okay, that amendment's been moved and seconded. That's your pitch on it. Any further comments, concerns? Yes.
Well, I just see that it's particularly going as far as Stewart Street in both cases makes ultimate sense. I mean, it just is a really good chunk there. And we know there's properties that are sitting there ready, well, maybe not ready to go, but at least with development ideas. So I think it would be a really good way to kick this off.
And I certainly know this has been discussed at this table previously. I think the main concern I expressed at that time, and I would have again, is that it's outside, I believe, the downtown DPA. And that focus is on, in that DPA, on mixed use, residential, commercial. These, whatever developments are proposed in that area are strictly residential. And presumably should stand on their own merits, but they're outside the DPA guideline. Okay, so a bunch of hands here. We'll just go around the table.
Well, I think at this point, one could argue that, you know, when you look at the vacancies and what we have in downtown as far as commercial, that it's, we don't need any more commercial in the downtown. What we need is, typically in a development, you'll see the residential develop first and then the commercial develop afterwards. You never see people go in and build a shopping center in an empty community in hopes that they're going to build new houses around it. So I would argue that that this amendment is going to create demand for further commercial, but it's going to be further down the road, and that's typically the way developments unfold.
Further down the road, time-wise, not.
Yeah. Into the
Problem with
future.
boundary extension here.
Councilor Price?
Yeah, this is a pilot. We are just starting out on this, and the area we have already expanded from the original planner's recommendation. And there'll always be something outside this area, and so the argument that this is an existing defined area is why we came down to this. So I will be staying with the existing proposal. We will be reviewing it in the future, in the near future. There's a limited amount of money that we are putting into this project at the moment, and so it could well be taken up very quickly within the shaded area that we already have on the map. So I think I'm supporting staying within the existing proposal.
Great. Councillor Fletcher.
I echo those comments. It's a pilot project. We did expand the area. I think we need to assess the program, and in time, I'm sure these areas will all be included. But let's make sure we've got it right first, and move slowly and cautiously. And I think it's good where it's at. Thank you.
Okay. Any further? Yes.
I guess my fear is that we won't have an opportunity to see if it works if we don't expand the boundaries. I don't think we need any more commercial space at this time, but some densification in residential would be really good. So I'm hoping that we would be willing to expand this, particularly the one on Balmoral area or Avenue, which is only going to really impact one property.
I mean, certainly this tax exemption that we're talking about here will only apply to the residential units. It doesn't apply to the commercial, but the essence of the downtown development area is that it will be mixed use, primarily residential and commercial together. So, as I said, these other developments that are being proposed, from what I gather, are either on the books already or perhaps being proposed for redevelopment are strictly residential. They're not going to have any commercial component to them. And again, I know it's a pilot project. I think that the focus should be somewhat restricted to a focused area rather than stretching it, because once you start to stretch it, then one could argue that perhaps the development at Anderton and Comox should be included in all that goes, because they're bringing more people to the town, and where does it end? So it's not an easy issue, and I understand what the intention of the amendment is. I just think it's perhaps reaching too far. Yeah.
Well, it's really, in actual fact, it's a pretty small little area that we're asking to. Nobody is suggesting we go to Hamilton. So, but if you talk to those that have done these programs before, the biggest flaw that they say is they start too small and they get off to a slow start, and it takes a long time to get take up because they don't have enough properties in their area. So we're not asking to include a huge piece. These to me seem like natural fits to this plan, so that's my take on it.
But I suppose to counter that, you would say, if the Legion and the Warren and the Comox Mall are all interested proponents, perhaps, that in itself would create significant demand, and that's where the focus perhaps should be. If I had to choose between favoring those locations over ones just outside, I tend to choose the ones that are more closely downtown. And, we don't have an unlimited amount of resources to put into this. So, sometimes location is what it's all about. And I think in this case, that without presupposing what the Legion might bring forward or the mall, and we'll see what the Lorne brings forward, those are issues that I think deserve consideration for this program. All right, so we have the amendment on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment? Those opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so that motion as amended will be up for first reading. And it's been moved and seconded as amended. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And now, CAO, just a procedural point of view, do we have to assume now that all the other bylaws will be amended accordingly?
Yes.
Okay.
So we don't have to amend the next page. I'll move first, second, and third reading of 1785.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And the bylaw amendment 1786 for second and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. 1787, which is a zoning bylaw amendment for second and third reading.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And the financial plan amendment bylaw, no, that's for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
CEO, just explain to us what that's all about.
As part of the tax exemption program that council is considering, you have to put your mind to the impact of any on financial plan. And that's what you can do at this stage. And what we've made amendments to the policy section, the revenues, objectives, and policies that you may see in the bylaw, to add this program into it, so that it indicates that council has put their mind to it.
Director of Finance.
So if you turn to page 155, there's a table there showing the estimated effect of permissive and revitalization tax exemptions. And so what's changed between that and the original financial plan bylaw is that the residential component has gone from $5,137 to $15,137. So council is saying that it will give up to $10,000 a year in exemptions for residential properties under this program.
Thank you.
50,000 divided by 5 years equals 10,000 a year.
Council Fletcher.
And so by expanding the boundary, we haven't changed that, it's just gonna be a first come, first
Still the
served.
same pot of money.
Yeah, yeah, we just spread the pot a little bit around.
All right, so having that explanation on first, second, and third reading, the financial plot and bylaw amendment, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then having considered that impact, the downtown Levite tax exemption bylaw be given second and third reading.
Move. Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so those will come back to us for adoption at the June 18th meeting, so that they can be in effect, all things going well, for July 1. At about the same time as we put into effect our planning procedures. Yeah. All right, so correspondence, we're at now, page 157, letter regarding the 6th annual Show and Shine and Poker Run. Motion to receive the letter and grant any request.
So moved.
Second.
Anything we have to worry about there, Chief, other than
No,
usuals?
usual positions that apply.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Letter received from the Minister of Justice regarding the province-wide earthquake preparedness consultation. And the accompanying letter with that from the Assistant Deputy Minister, we should see both of those together.
Move receipt.
Second.
And the consultation, I believe, in this area is July 9th, from 8:30 to 10, and I assume we'll have representation from staff there.
There will be.
Okay.
Is anyone from council and street attending?
If anyone from council wishes to attend, please let the CA know. I'll have to check my schedule.
That is shape.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. So just put that, and we'll maybe have our secretary send out a reminder. All right, Nautical Day is coming up, of course. We have a letter from the Comox Valley Roadrunners for the 4-mile road race, Monday, August 4th.
Move receipt, and we need to grant the request, and if
Yes.
we have to, we will.
I think that's appropriate, and so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any issues around road construction along that route at that time?
No, should be all wrapped up.
Okay. All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, we'll see Councilor McKinnon trying to beat his age again. Right? Trying to do better than your age in the plan? Okay. Gets easier as you get older. Letter from Comox by the Sea, which is the BIA, of course, in support of the Downtown Levite program.
Move receipt.
Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, reports from members of council. Councilor Greg Cameron.
Yeah, I attended an Economic Development Society executive meeting, and our AGM is coming up on Friday at Glacier Greens. You're all welcome to come if you'd like. And I also went on a BIA walkabout downtown to just have a little closer look at our downtown and areas that could maybe be improved or changed or what could be done. And one of the things that came out of it was they got a little bit excited about the facade improvement idea that's come up. So I would, you will be hearing from them in the not too distant future on what we could do to start a facade improvement program in there. So that's what I've done.
Just as a question of interest, do they have any money that they can contribute towards that?
Well, they got $48,000. No.
Not for that, they don't.
They may have some that we could, they want to talk about that, but they do have, they may be able to come up with some, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, there's nothing further? No? Councilor Fletcher?
Thank you. Since we last met, I attended the regional solid waste meeting on May 8th, and that's where we're seated today. On May 10th, I attended the Comox Valley Daycare Society fundraiser at the Comox Rec Center on behalf of Mayor Ives. They let me paint a blank canvas, which I have a great deal of difficulty with. It's harder than it looks. I also attended the Sewage, Water Sports, and CBRD Committee of the Whole on May 13th. You may have noted in the paper today that the Sports Commission endorsed the proposal for the feasibility study for the regional tennis facility. Comox Council had sent a letter in support of that as well, noting no funding, but that they were free to go ahead and do it, and hopefully they can obtain the monies from Tennis Canada. So that was passed. And last Wednesday I attended a nautical days meeting with the coordinator and our town CAO, items, and attended the committee of the whole after that.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Swift?
I attended the ceremony of the base honoring Canada's role in Afghanistan. And then later that same day, the ceremony at Senatown in Courtney, along with Councillor Cameron and Councillor McKinnon. I attended the sewer meeting and the St. John's Ambulance First Aid AGM and Wards Night.
Thank you. Councilor Price?
And since our last council meeting, I attended the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital Board. I did some broom bashing in the Northeast Woods with broombashing.com. They're an incredibly dedicated group of volunteers, mostly retired or all retired, and they came back another 2 days in there, and yeah, so it's looking a bit different. And I also, with Councillor Fletcher, attended the Comox Valley Daycare Society fundraiser and got to paint and had our paintings auction, which made me think it was probably a dubious side of the fundraising, that one. That we had a lot of fun anyway. And I met with Greg at Bob Ash's Trade Winds apartment to have a look, and very fine building and well maintained, and lucky to have it. That's what I've done since last council meeting.
Councilor McKinnon?
Yes, I can't remember if I mentioned this last time. I did meet with Robert Ash as well at the Tradewinds Apartments with Mayor Ives. I'm not able to go to the FCM, National FCM, so I attended an economic development for local leaders workshop in Port Alberni, which was quite interesting, comparing the two communities and listening to the BC rep in regards to advice on economic development. A good workshop. I attended the memorial at the Courtney Legion, remembering all of those members that have served in Afghanistan, along with Councillor Grant and Councillor Swift.
What's her
I
name?
attended the Salish Seafoods Comox grand opening last Saturday, and nice to see a business opening there. And last night I attended the BIA's first Tuesday paddle and barbecue. The barbecue is sponsored by a different business in Comox, each Tuesday, and invite the other council members and the mayor to come down. It's a good social and a great idea, each Tuesday at Marina Park here
Time does it start?
at 6 o'clock. They provide equipment too, if you want to rent it, you can bring your own equipment and all kinds of different paddling apparatus there.
So you won't be up the creek without a paddle. Very good. Councilor Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we last met, I attended the Regional Hospital Board meeting up in Campbell River, as well as the Solid Waste Management Committee meeting. Those were both on May the 8th. And then last week I chaired the Sewer Commission meeting and also chaired the Water Committee meeting, attended the Sports Commission meeting, and Committee of the Whole of the Regional District. And I too attended the grand opening of Salish Seafoods and had some wonderful barbecue and oysters, and they put on a real spread. And it was by donation to Yanis, so it was great.
Since we last met, I participated in the Walk with Your Doctor, or Walk with Your Doc event down here at Marina Park. 50 people came out, along with some of the local medical professionals. Nice walk out to the Marina Boardwalk and back. And that was part of a provincial day of walking with your doc last week. Children's Health Foundation handed out some awards to the local area, and those were done at the Courtney Museum. And that's over $2 million handed out across Vancouver Island, and there's some significant grants for local organizations. Participated along with the other mayors in the grad exit interview process at Vanier School, and we had about 2 or 3 hours of interviewing students, grade 12 students who are leaving Vanier, finding out about their experiences and the future. I'm sure along with the grads from Highland as well as in the hands from what I saw. We also participated, the mayors and I, with the Lions Club and their donation funds to the caravan, and in recognition also of the 20th anniversary of the Nurses Center in Courtney. And of course, this past Monday was Empire Days in Cumberland, and participated in the parade, and as well attended the May Queen Lunch. Hard to believe, but that festival's been running for 126 years. So it was nice also to see former Mayor Rocco Moncrief. And although I like to tease him about it, I don't think he was there right at the start. But been around a long time. That's my report. No late items. Media question. Any questions from our member of the public?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Don Davis. I'm not, I couldn't form it in the form of a question. It's more just a point of interest. Are councillors aware that you may have inadvertently included a property in the vitalization program that might not have fit the criteria? Because I do understand a lot of it's to do with commercial and multi-residential, but kitty corner across from the Legion is Dr. Burr's property, right beside the dental office. And that doesn't have a border behind it to keep it isolated from the residential property to the north Point Vista. So that's just a point of interest that may be a bit of a glitch there. I don't know if it presents a problem to the planners or at some time in the future given consideration to dividing Dr. Burr's property in half. But it's just a thing there, just an anomaly that I thought worthy of being identified.
Thank you for that. We'll take that under advisement. There are no in-camera items to deal with tonight, so a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. In favor?